So this week, we're going to have a conversation about one of the biggest wedge issues in America, immigration. Now, only let's have this conversation through the lens of basketball. On the first night in the NBA this season, a record-tying 125 international players from a record-tying 43 countries were on opening night rosters. This is the result of the NBA's global popularity, which has been decades in the making. But as the NBA's international reach continues to expand and the NBA game itself has taken on more of an international feel, not everybody is happy about it.
What changes can the league make to bring more competitive balance to both sides of the ball?
I know what they can do. Get rid of all the Europeans.
What?
You just said it. You just said it. You go to college to learn defense.
Yeah.
What college do Europeans go to?
I'm with you. No, I didn't say
Right?
get rid
They
of
don't
them
go to
altogether.
college
Special talent.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
They have no athleticism.
They have some
They
come
have
over.
no athleticism.
They all come over and go
Hold
to
on.
Arizona.
They have no athleticism, right? They have no speed, no jumping ability. They are a liability on defense. There's 150 Euros in the league today. Name the top 10 defenders.
Yeah,
None.
I'm with
right? Just the Rudy Gobert and Greek the Freak. Other than that, they're just offensive players. They're not defensive players, right? So the NBA took away aggression. They took away aggression to open up the Euro League. When they first started getting here, it was too rough for them.
And they didn't make it.
They didn't make it, right? So eventually, they softened the rules. They didn't soften the rules for the Americans. They softened the rules to open it up international. So when they're saying the Euros is going to run the league in the next 5 years, why do you think that? More threes, passing, cutting. This is not our league. This is not the American style. This is the Euro style.
Sounds like Gilbert Arenas supports mass deportation. Now, Gilbert's wild conspiracy theory aside, because he must have forgot that the league eliminated handshaking in 2004, the first of many rule changes that would happen to benefit offensive players. They did that because fans complained that the game was too physical, and they basically got tired of seeing Big Ten basketball at the NBA level. I went to a Big Ten school, I can say that. But the surge of international players dominating in the NBA is raising some compelling questions about the state of American basketball. Are international players now better equipped and more prepared for NBA success because their systems of development is perhaps better than the American systems of development, namely AAU, high school, and college basketball? I'll unpack all of that in a moment, but first, a history lesson. In 1978, the NBA played its first international exhibition game in Israel. It was the then Washington Bullets against the Maccabees Tel Aviv, a team that had just won the European Cup by beating a top-tier Italian team. The Bullets, however, were just 3 months removed from beating Seattle for the NBA championships. Now, not to give them an excuse, but the Bullets were still in celebration mode. They were out of shape because back then, to quote Bernie Mac, when players took a break, they broke. Playing by international rules, they allowed zone defense, which was then illegal in the NBA. The Maccabees beat the defending champs 98-97. Now, the international loss was such an anomaly for the Americans that the Bullets players, they weren't even mad. The legendary Wes Unseld, the captain of the Bullets, said after the game, "I came to Israel on vacation to enjoy myself. The game really was not what this trip was all about." Now, on the world stage, America largely has been known as having the best brand of basketball in the world. Even before the United States started sending NBA players to represent the country at the Olympics, the U.S. won the gold medal with college players in 9 of the first 12 Olympics. But at the 1972 Olympics in Moscow, the United States started showing signs it was vulnerable. At that point, Team USA had won 64 straight games in Olympic basketball competition. But in 72, the Soviets handed America a stunning, albeit extremely controversial defeat in the final seconds of the gold medal game.
Well, confusion reigns, but the United States still, they have that 1-point lead, 50-49, as a result of 2 pressure-packed foul shots by Doug Collins of Illinois State. Now the clock shows 3 seconds. There is time for the Russians to go to their big man, Alexander Belov. They're going to try. Alexander Belov between 2 American defenders. Back there with him, Jim Ford and McMillan, and the Russian team has mobbed Alexander Belov. And this time it is over.
It was Team USA's first Olympic loss ever. The loss stung so badly that the U.S. team refused to accept their silver medals out of protest. While Team USA recovered from the loss to the Soviets to win gold in '76, something shifted in the landscape. Team USA did not compete in the '80 Olympics in Moscow because then President Jimmy Carter led an international boycott of the Games to protest the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. And while in 1984, America predictably won gold again, the 1988 team lost to its nemesis again. But unlike in 1972, this time the Soviets left no doubt that they were the superior team.
The world has certainly caught up with the United States in this game. No longer does the U.S. dominate as they did for so much of these Olympic Games.
A year after that crushing loss, FIBA made the decision to allow countries to use professional players to field their Olympic basketball teams. But here's the irony. Despite suffering some gold medal losses, the United States actually voted against this change, voting against our own best interests. There's a metaphor in there somewhere, but I'm gonna leave that one alone. In 1992, America sent its version of the Avengers to the Olympics. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, Scottie Pippen, Clyde Drexler, Patrick Ewing, Chris Mullin, David Robinson, Christian Laettner, and John Stockton. Now, y'all know damn well Isaiah Thomas should have been on that team. And no, I don't acknowledge Karl Malone. I'm gonna let y'all Google that one. I'm petty like that. The 1992 Dream Team mollywopped everybody. Team USA's average margin of victory was 31 points. But most importantly, that team established a pathway for the NBA to expand its reach worldwide, which included further opening the door for international players to make their way to the NBA.
We opened up the game to the world. So that's why all these guys are playing in the NBA today. The Dream Team is responsible for that.
But what Magic Johnson probably couldn't anticipate is that the young international players that were once inspired by the Dream Team wouldn't just stop at just pursuing a dream NBA career. They would one day stage a real takeover of American basketball altogether.
You know, to be completely honest with you, I had the opportunity to be a part of USA Basketball for 2 years. I think it was 2015 and 2019. And being assistant coach for those teams, I'm surrounded by the best young talent in America. You know, the Cade Cunninghams, the Jason Tatums, Evan Mobley, Scottie Barnes, Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs, you know, the list goes on, Jalen Brunson. The list goes on and on. And I had an opportunity to see firsthand how the game was catching up, right? There's always been a big gap between the United States and the rest of the country. And a lot of that was in large part because of athleticism. Well, they bridged the gap because of their fundamentals and their work ethic and their development. So over here, a lot of times our young kids at the developmental leagues, such as the AAUs and the high schools and even the latter years in middle school, it seems as if they're more concerned with what can I do if I have the ball in my hands? So everyone every workout is a 1-4 flat. Well, 1-4 flats are for the Allen Iversons and Gilbert Arenases and those kind of guys of the world, right? And so how can you become a star in your own role? And what happens, I think, my personal opinion is American-born citizens don't know what to do when the basketball is not in their hands anymore. They don't know how to move without it. They don't know how to play without it. And the reality is, in a 48-minute game in the NBA, you're going to spend 45 minutes without the ball in your hand. So now what do you do? And we haven't mastered that yet through our developmental leagues and up-and-coming leagues, and they have. I had the opportunity to play basketball overseas for 7 years, and one thing I used to notice was that they work out 3 times a day. And their skill training is vastly different from ours. Our skill training is going in the gym and working on what we have, quote-unquote, our bag, and imitating some of the moves that we've seen on SportsCenter or something that's going to get you an Instagram reel with some more likes and clicks. That development is individually shooting and then teamwork and playing without the basketball. And so now you have non-American born citizens that's pretty much taking over the league with the Lucas and even like Joel Embiid. He wasn't, an American citizen. And then obviously Joker, Giannis, and the list is going to continue to grow until we do something about the grassroots level of our basketball development.
That was LeVelle Moton, the head men's basketball coach at North Carolina Central University. And what he's saying is supported by some fascinating results. The last 6 MVP awards have gone to an international player. 9 international players played in the NBA All-Star game, including 6 that were starters. And given the way Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Nikola Jokic are playing so far this season, an international player winning another MVP is more than possible. Now, the NBA couldn't be happier about this surging European dominance because it's had a tremendous impact on the bottom line. The NBA currently earns $650 million per year in media rights revenue outside of the United States, and 75% of the NBA's social media followers aren't on U.S. soil. And with an extraordinary player like Victor Wembanyama seemingly on his way to stardom, the demand from abroad to see international players compete only will increase. But as the skill level of European players continues to get better, people like Coach Moton believe the skills of American players, especially at the youth level, are headed in the opposite direction.
And so basketball over here has become the new hustle, right? Everybody's a skill trainer now, right? And parents don't know any better. They're just putting their kids under the watchful eye of a guy that's making them go in and out of cones, or just Google some drills out off of YouTube, charging them $45 an hour. And parents just don't know, right? And so the other thing that's lacking the development is there was a time where the drug dealers sponsored the teams. Now the drug dealers are coaching the teams. And I'm like, what in the world is going on out here?
Now, I don't mean to make it sound like there aren't young American basketball players dominating in the NBA. Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker. Those guys are all pretty damn good. But in this hyper-capitalistic American society, the greed permeating youth basketball is negatively impacting youth basketball development, and therefore the superstar pipeline doesn't look the same. 5 years ago, my former ESPN colleague Baxter Holmes wrote a fascinating story about how the increased emphasis on specialization and the grind of the AAU circuit are collectively damaging the health of young basketball prospects. According to research, young American basketball players are experiencing a much higher rate of injury than European players because while international players start playing with professionals at a young age, they don't play in nearly as many games as their American counterparts. For example, Zion Williamson and Ja Morant went 1-2 in the 2019 NBA draft, and LaMelo Ball went 3rd in the draft the following year. Between the three of them, they've missed almost 500 games due to injuries. Now, what did they all have in common? Extensively competing in AAU. Meanwhile, Luka Doncic, who started playing professionally when he was 13 and is in his 7th NBA season, he's played in an average of 66 regular season games per year. Jokic is averaging 75 games and Giannis 72. Now, this isn't to say that every foreign player is a picture of health, but Americans playing professional schedules as they're still developing can't be good. But with so much money and exposure on the line, Coach Moton believes the development of young American players is no longer a priority.
You know, AAU has always been beneficial because it showcases the talent. But I think it's become extremely toxic because there's no substance to it, right? Part of basketball is being able to compete at a high level every possession. But these kids aren't competing anymore because in AAU, if you lose at 9 o'clock, then you play again at 12 o'clock. And if you lose at 12 o'clock, then you play again at 4:15. And if you lose again, then you play the following weekend with another team, right? And so the art of the competition has gone. When I grew up, and I hate to be that guy when I play, like I don't want to be that guy, but our AAU team in North Carolina, there was only one AAU team in the city that I was in, Raleigh, North Carolina, and we were called the Raleigh Stars, and you had to be selected. And it was myself and Jerry Stackhouse and guys like that, right? But what happened is AAU has become super saturated, right? People who fathers saw their children wasn't good enough to make a team, they went out and started their own AAU team. And now it's become nothing but a money grab, right? So AAU at its core hasn't served this initial purpose to develop the talent and showcase the talent. It's now a money grab. You go to any AAU tournament in the country and parking is $50 for the weekend. Entry fee is $75, right? Gatorades are $8. Like it's just a money grab. It's just a hustle. Everyone that's connected to this game are now using it to hustle it instead of to develop the talent and simply strictly care about these kids and their overall development. And that's what AAU used to be. And somehow or another, we got away from that and it's coming back to bite us. And now we got to send a 36-year-old Kevin Durant and a 40-year-old LeBron James to the Olympics and Steph Curry to still save us instead of having 22, 23-year-olds go compete for our country.
While I'm certainly not suggesting American basketball players are about to go the way of the dinosaur, we're fast approaching the time where America isn't going to enter every Olympics as the best team. And perhaps we should also get used to the fact that the title of best player in the world isn't an American birthright. I'm Jemele Hill, and I approve this message.